Hello humans. Today we are going to do the deck profile for Earth. Yes, I have Undead Princess on the picture because she actually is an important card in my Earth deck. But with that being said, my actual Earth deck literally got taken over by Shantoto. Yes, as you can see, my Earth deck got taken over by Shantoto. Starting off with 3 copies of this one. 2 copies of a backup Shantoto. 2 copies of the other 7 cost Shantoto. I want a copy of the foil full art, but when I first saw it, it started at $80. Now it's up to $100 for the foil, the original foil print. Like, ooh, but she's worth it. The 3 copies of the dual element Shantoto. 3 copies. And 3 more copies. I'll explain what they all do later, but I'm starting with how many copies of each card I have. 2 copies of the Undead Princess. 3 copies of Montleonis from War of the Visions. 3 copies of Warrior. They come in handy. 2 copies of Dark Knight. 2 copies of Vanille. Moving on to the backups, I have 1 copy of Inner Crow. The only reason why I have 1 is at the time that I got her, she was pretty pricey, and yeah, I didn't want to spend too much, but I need to recheck the prices so I can get a second or probably third one. 3 copies of Kitone. I probably mispronounced that, but we'll keep going. 2 copies of Graham. 2 copies of Luca. 3 copies of the Mog backup from Mobius. In terms of monsters, 2 copies of Hill Gigas. This one you can put a 3rd copy in. You actually can. So the other monster is Librarian. If you want to, you can switch out the Librarian with a 3rd copy of the Hill Gigas. And 2 copies of Zagnall. As for summons, I have 3 copies of the 1 cost Carbuncle, along with 3 copies of the 1 cost Titan. Now, moving on to what each of the cards do. Inner Crow, if you watch the Lightning video, I mentioned she is the one who gives Earth forwards I control 1000 power. She is the one for Earth. Now, this copy of Shantoto does so much. When Shantoto is dealt damage, deal the same amount of damage to all the forwards other than Shantoto. If a forward damaged by this ability is put into the break zone, remove it from the game instead. Colossal Shantoto. Drop a additional copy of this card, which is what the S is. Pay 3 Earth Crystal Points and dull this card. Deal 5,000 damage to all the forwards. She deals 5,000 damage to all, including herself. And because she took damage, she deals 5,000 to every other forward again. So if they have less than 10,000, they're screwed. You have 5,000 or less, you're gone. You have 6,000 to 10,000, you're getting removed from the game. This Shantoto does so much. One of the backup Shantotos. Pay 1 crystal point, and you can name one element other than light and dark. Shantoto becomes that named element until the end of the turn, which is one easy way for me to generate lightning crystal points for this dual element Shantoto. When Shantoto enters the field, select one of the 2 following actions. Choose one forward other than Shantoto. It gains haste until the end of the turn. The other, choose one forward you control. It gains this forward cannot be broken until the end of the turn. This one is a 9-coster. If your opponent controls 7 or more characters, the cost of for playing Shantoto onto the field is reduced by 3. So her own effects takes her from 9 to 6. When Shantoto enters the field, select one of the 2 following actions. Choose one character of cost 3 or less in your break zone, play it onto the field. The other, choose one character of cost 3 or less opponent controls, break it. She costs 9 and she has 9,000 power. That's actually pretty good. This one, the 5-cost backup. If Shantoto is on the field, Shantoto can produce wind crystal points. When Shantoto enters the field, reveal the top 5 cards of your deck. Add up to 1 wind card and up to 1 earth card among them. Add them to your hand and return the other cards to the bottom of your deck in any order. The reason why I put 3 copies of this in, it says up to 1 wind and 1 earth. Yeah, I don't have to add a wind card, which means the top 5 in the earth deck, I can choose any 1 earth card among them. And I'm not forced to add a wind and an earth. I don't have to add a wind. That card does a lot. 2 copies of Vanille. Vanille cannot attack or block. At the end of each of your turns, place 1 Soul Song counter on Vanille. Remove 2 Soul Song counters. Choose 1 forward in your break zone, add it to your hand. This is recovery. Choose 4 Soul Song counters. Choose 1 forward in your break zone, play it onto the field. Yeah, if you can stall for time, Vanille can easily recover a lot of your cards. But before I forget, the 7-cost Shantoto, she is so damn good that she got a 9-foil break. If Shantoto is on your field, Shantoto gains elements of fire, ice, wind, earth, lightning, and water. By default, she generates a crystal point of whatever element you choose but light and dark. When Shantoto enters the field, remove all the forwards from the game. Even this one, the non-foil print, is still pricey, but it is worth it for what she does. Moving on to Dark Knight. If Dark Knight receives damage, the damage increases by 4,000 instead. He's a 3-coster at 9,000 power. Yeah, that's an actual decent trade-off. It's actually pretty cheap. You just can't really... Yeah, the bad side about it is they do small like 1,000. It just jumps up to 5,000. They can hit you from 1,000 twice and kill you. Warriors. Cost 1, 4,000 power. It's pretty cheap, pretty easy. A decent amount of power as well. 3 copies of Montleonis. His cost is 11, but there's more to it. The cost to cast Montleonis is reduced by 1 for each Earth character you control. When Montleonis enters the field, choose 1 Earth forward of cost 6 or less in your break zone. Play it onto the field. When Montleonis is put from the field to the break zone, during this turn, the next damage dealt to you, it becomes 0 instead. The more characters you have on your field, the cheaper he gets, so he can go down to 1. In fact, it does not say it cannot become 0. It does not say it cannot become 0. So with 5 backups, he goes down to 6 costs. That doesn't include the forwards. You get that many cards on the field that he comes out for free. Yeah, your opponent ain't doing something right. They're not doing something right to let you get a whole bunch of shenanigans off. Undead Princess. What makes her important in this deck? When Undead Princess enters the field, choose 1 forward. If your opponent does not pay 3 crystal points, doesn't matter what element, it cannot attack or block this turn. The second effect, put 2 Earth backups into the break zone. Play Undead Princess on to the field though. You can only use this ability if Undead Princess is in the break zone. That secondary effect is important, mostly because you can only have 5 backups at a time. If you don't have backups that send themselves to the break zone, you can't play anymore. So that 7-cost Shantoto that removes all forwards from the game, yeah. If I need to play a second one, I can use Undead Princess to get rid of one of them so I can have space to play the second one. It also comes in handy for Earth backups that have effects for when they enter the field. For example, the next backup, Graham. You can only pay with crystal points produced by Earth backups to play Graham from your hand onto the field. When Graham enters the field, choose 1 forward opponent controls, deal it 9,000 damage. If I have the second one in my hand, I can use Undead Princess to get rid of the one that's already on the field, just so I can burn my opponent again. The 3 copies of Kitone. There's a reason why I need 3 copies. That's mostly because she has an ability that drops another copy of her from the hand. Now, she's an EX. EX Burst. When Kitone enters the field, choose 1 character. During this turn, it cannot attack or block, and it cannot use its action abilities. That's a good bonus. Dream Within a Dream. By dropping a copy of her and dulling her, choose 1 forward, deal it 4,000 damage. You may pay 1 Earth crystal point. When you do so, use this special ability again without paying the cost. So you can drop a copy of her, burn something for 4,000, pay 1 Earth crystal point, do it again. Oh, that does too much. Especially when you pair her with someone like Vanille, where, yeah, you just keep looping over your forwards. The 2 copies of Luca. What makes Luca good is it's a cost 2 and you can put her into the break zone. Choose one backup of cost 3 or less in your break zone, play it onto the field. Mobius. Pay 2 Earth Crystal Points and double this card. Put Mobius into the break zone. Search for 1 forward and add it to your hand. You have 3 cards that can search. That's actually pretty fun to use. But you actually need other backups so you can keep making plays after you get rid of that one. Now, as for the monsters, Hill Gigas. When a character opponent controls uses an action ability, put Hill Gigas into the break zone. If you do so, cancel its effect and break that character. Yeah, this is literally a trap just waiting to happen. The reason why I say you can put a third one in and switch out Laborian. When Laborian enters the field, remove the top 4 cards of your deck from the game. At the end of your turn, add 1 card removed by the previous effect to your hand. Then, if there are no more cards removed by the previous effect left, put Laborian into the break zone. What makes this card good is you get an extra card at the end of each turn. The problem would be if they find a way to break this, everything else there is stuck there. There's not much that can recover from removed from the game. Zagnol. When a character of cost 6 or more enters your field, Zagnol also becomes a forward of 9,000 power. This effect does not end at the end of the turn. This ability will not trigger if Zagnol is a forward. Yeah, it's a 2 cost 9,000 power monster. And as you can see, I have a cost 7 Shintoto, a cost 6 Shintoto, a cost 9 Shintoto, a cost 11 Monk Leonis. Yeah, I have a number of characters of cost 6 or more. The last 2 cards would be the 3 copies of Carbuncle and 3 copies of Titan. Carbuncle does, it's an EX burst. All the forwards you control gain 2,000 power until the end of the turn. If all the backups you control have Earth Element, draw 1 card. That's an easy draw in this deck. And then those 3 shiny foil copies of Titan. Yes, you need to look closely to read the fine print, like really, really close. Select up to 2 of the following. 2 of the 4 following actions. 1. Choose 1 forward you control. It gains 1,000 power until the end of the turn. 2. All the forwards you control gain Brave until the end of the turn. 3. All the forwards you control gain this forward cannot become dull by your opponent's summons or abilities until the end of the turn. 4. Draw 1 card. Yeah, Titan can easily count. Titan is one of the reasons why I say Earth can hard counter Ice. Because not only Earth, but also Monk cards specifically. This deck is just beat down. And Shintoto is literally the star of the show because any damage she takes gets spread out to everyone else. I can attack your boss. She has 9,000 power at 6 cost. You don't want to fight her recklessly. Better swing on me. You better swing on me. Like AJ said, you better swing on me. Because if you're not, you about to get swung on. And yes, with all these Shintoto cards in the deck. Oh wait, here it is. Ah ha 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 ha. Ah ha 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 ha. Yes, I do that every time I duel against Chaos in Final Fantasy and I play a Shantoto. I do the laugh just because I can. And that is the deck profile for Earth.